Welcome to YouTube channel Knowledge Base. This is Suresh Venkat, connecting world with innovative experts. Today, our guest of honor is Mr. Raghunandan SV, one among the top 50 HR influencers. Mr. Raghunandan comes with more than 25 years of experience, graduated from XLRI, and he has worked in various organizations like Tata Kirloskar, Ashok Leyland Information Technology, Siemens Information Technology, and he has set up HR operations from the scratch for various multinational companies in India. Welcome, Mr. Raghunandan, sir. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much, Suresh.
Yeah,
Pleasure is mine.
exactly. Let me start this session. I just wanted to understand, just out of curiosity from the layman point of view, what it takes or what is the criteria to be among top 50 HR influencers?
Well, I think this is what usually everyone does.
Yeah.
One is you have to be a inspiring person. You should be passionate enough what you do.
Yeah.
When you are passionate, you will inspire people.
Yeah.
So in the military, probably you should basically have the followers there who can basically imbibe your qualities.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you have to basically go ahead and create a difference, maybe in terms of nurture people around you,
Yeah.
influence them. You have to coach them.
Yeah.
What basically, I mean, every one of us, anyone who is basically sitting in this particular seat or a role, they will basically be in a position of influencing people.
Okay.
So that's what an influencer does. In
Okay.
short.
See, if I'm right, in late 90s, you are being one of the first employee of HR department of Tata Kirloskar. So can you briefly share your 1997? Okay. Can you briefly share your experience in setting up an HR operations from scratch in Tata Kirloskar?
Perfect. Nostalgic moments once again. I think there are a couple of my colleagues who are based out of this WhatsApp group which I have created.
Yeah.
In 1997, I was basically I had moved out of Ashok Leyland Information Technology at that point of time, and I was looking for an opening, and that's how Toyota requirements came in. At that point of time, it was known as Kirloskar Toyota, not Toyota Kirloskar. So Kirloskar, they basically wanted to get into an merger, joint venture with Toyota. That's how it began. Then after that, I think the organization was coined as Toyota Kirloskar to basically have a better brand view, and so that people can easily relate it across to them. Because Kirloskar usually comes from a manufacturing background of oil engine. That is the coil. So that's how it started, and we had basically shuttled between four offices in Toyota, because we began that on MG Road as a makeshift office. Then after that, we had been to Singh Sandra, from Singh Sandra to BDG, and in between one other office. That was the thing. The challenge was because you basically had to come across multiple cultures. One. Second thing is you were basically given a challenge of basically mentoring people coming from a manufacturing background, especially in terms of the Kirloskar oil engines. So Toyota Kirloskar basically happened to provide an opportunity for all the employees of Kirloskar group of companies. It might be Coil, that is Kirloskar oil engines, or maybe Kirloskar Electric, or maybe Kirloskar Toyota. There are a couple of professionals who moved out from Kirloskar Toyota also, and we had textile machinists. So people from textile machinists also, they moved in here. So now basically everyone came from a different cultural background, and the challenge was to ensure that every one of us, we basically resonate with the culture of Toyota. That's sort of the thing. In Toyota, what happens is maybe all the professionals who are managing the show basically came from a plant background. So every one of us who have joined there, maybe in terms of, we basically had a layer saying that, okay, fine, all the junior layer and as well as a senior layer came from Kirloskar background, as well as the very senior or the management people basically came from Toyota Management Group. So now there was a difference between the culture, the language. There is a language barrier, which most of them they used to converse in Japanese, and we used to get it that translated to English, and then once again into local languages. If in case we are supposed to basically implement the system, we start off in terms of establishing the statutory requirements basically. So that was basically taken care. When it comes to recruitment, so localites were basically recruited, and we there were a couple of people even before I joined who had basically joined as interns from different Kirloskar groups. All these people were basically sent across to Japan for basically it was basically a know-how of the system, and then after that give them they were given an initial training on the systems, and after that they were moving back to India. So that's how was the system. Now, once the challenge when I basically got into Toyota Kirloskar was in terms of we are supposed to basically establish the HR system. So compliance was basically taken care of that. Then after that, we started with the recruitment. So from a recruitment background, yeah, we had then we started recruiting people coming from different backgrounds from the automobile industry itself. So team was set, and then after that, we started planning out on the benefits administration. So from an initial setup of the compliance, I moved to HR, the core HR. From core HR, I moved to benefit administration. So that's where I spent most of my time. So in a benefits administration, we were supposed to basically take care of all the requirements of an employee. So be it in terms of commutation, or maybe in terms of insurance, or your payroll, or maybe in terms of your workwear planning. And in this, I was also given an opportunity to work on the work as a brand designer. So Toyota Kirloskar, Toyota logo, what you see is not the exact logo of the company. So T and K, I think some of the veterans might be knowing about this particular logo. I was one of the team members formed from HR to basically design the Toyota Kirloskar logo. So that's where I started working on the color combinations, the design, and culture there. So we wanted to bring in all the 3 dimensions and put it across with the logo. So now someone who is passionate enough, who can resonate with the culture of an organization, can basically get into all this role. So now the challenge was people, the major challenge what we faced was in terms of people came from different cultures, diverse cultural background. We wanted to basically train them across with the Toyota culture. Second is in terms of the language barrier. So people came from different languages, maybe people coming from in and around, BDG. We never had any challenge, but at the same time, we did have people coming from Hosur, or maybe we had people coming from, some of them from Maharashtra, some of them from North Karnataka. So all these people, we were basically supposed to help them out in terms of overcoming the language barrier there, because when it comes to the statutory compliance, so what we had, so we were supposed to basically comply with the local authorities and transact with them. So that was the thing. And for all the basic activities, maybe in HR, at that point of time I was a senior executive HR. So all the basic HR activities were basically handled by the localites. So in order to basically understand, to iron most of the issues there. So who can basically understand and iron out the issues. At that point of time, we didn't have this strikes and lockouts or whatever is there. So we were just building the organization.
You have also you have also managed many mergers and acquisition, particularly when it comes to you have managed when it comes to seamless transition of employees during merger and acquisition. So how did you manage it?
How did I manage? Yes, it was a challenging task. So to manage the thing, and maybe I think this merger and acquisition journey started from almost, I think I can say, from Toyota Kirloskar. I think
Okay.
one or the other way we were basically involved in merger or acquisition. So in Toyota Kirloskar, it was more or less like a merger. So or
Okay.
maybe I can put it as a joint venture between Toyota and Kirloskar. So that was the thing. And once you see, and then after that, we had multiple mergers in First Indian Corporation. And when I got into First American Group of Companies, and the recent one was with First American India, where we merged and as well as we demerged and we started a new entity. In all the three places, for that matter, or maybe First Indian Corporation also, I was basically involved in a couple of mergers. So in all the four places, if I have to say that, okay, fine. If you are a people's manager, first you have to be a people's manager. Understand what are the people's requirements. When you are bridging a gap,
yeah,
you are supposed. Yeah, sorry. Yes, sorry. Tell me.
Was there any large layoffs happened during the time?
No, we didn't have.
We didn't have.
And that was the best part of that. We basically wanted to have the entire employee setup because we wanted to have a seamless process transition along with the people transition. So that's where when the process transition happened, probably we will scale up, but we will not scale down.
Did you follow any? Did you follow any specific procedures and process during this time?
Obviously, we had to look into the procedures, the standard procedures, and as well as we have to resonate with the culture of the organization. So now, since we are doing a merger for a parent company, we are supposed to basically align with the culture of the parent company. Now, when that's the first thing. Second thing is when I am into a merger or acquisition or whatever is there. So I basically look at the culture of an organization with whom I am going to get into an alliance. So now, since it was an American company, I didn't have much of an challenge because the culture was similar. And at the same time, yeah, statutory requirements is something which is nasal. I think that is basic, which we will be basically taking care of that by default. Apart from that is in terms of playing with the emotions of people, right? So when you basically, when someone hears a word of a news of a merger, so everyone gets panicked. So one thing is basically we started with the communication, basic communication, saying that, okay, fine, what is going to be the merger, how the merger is going to take place, and who is going to be merged with the organization, and what will be the culture of the organization, what are the benefits that you are going to basically carry along with you to the new organization. And also we ensured that, okay, fine, all the employees who ever moved to the new organization had a continuity of service. So we didn't basically had, because for all the legal aspects, we had a resignation and stuff like that. But at the same time, we provided them with a continuity of service. So that was the thing. So now when the emotions are taken care from the employees feel satisfied and they feel secure because the work environment will remain the same. Their colleagues will remain the same. Their team will remain the same. Only and maybe in terms of the productivity will not be affected. So productivity will be basically taken care of that. But the only thing is they will be looking at in terms of, for example, if I am going to get into an alliance, so what is the benefit that I'm going to get? Maybe in terms of the compensation. That's the first thing which each and everyone looks into that. Now the challenge is in terms of when I'm basically getting into a merger, usually the parent company might be on the higher side, and whereas the company which is getting merged might be on the lower side of the compensation. So it is that way. What happens is probably we will try to bridge that gap, maybe in terms of restructuring the compensation levels and stuff like that. Suppose in case if I had a challenge when we acquired one of the organizations in Bangalore. That was when I was with First Indian Corporation, and they were basically on the Oracle Financials. So our Oracle Financials professionals are paid very high when compared to what I used to pay, because I never had the Oracle Financials team in place. So obviously we never worried about that. But when we basically acquired this particular organization, we saw there was a huge gap in terms of compensation. We were at the 65th percentile in our market, and those people were almost at the 85th percentile in the market. So now if I had to, and maybe the market used to pay around almost 75 percentile. So they were way beyond 10 percentile of the market. Now how to basically bridge that gap? So we ensured that, okay, fine, they will continue with the same salary. We never made any reduction in the salary as such for the first year. This happened somewhere in October, somewhere in the month of October, and we said, okay, fine, till March, April, you are going to basically continue with the same thing, and after that, we are going to trim the salary. Second challenge was basically it also helped me. Rang a alarm saying that, okay, fine, I am supposed to get into a composition survey or a market climate survey. So we landed up into a market survey, and then after that, I think somewhere at around 88th percentile, we basically came across, and we could basically manage with the composition level of the acquired company. So that was the challenge which usually one faces. Suresh.
Fine. You have been an active member of NHRD. So can you tell me about your association with NHRD, particularly Bangalore chapter?
My association goes almost, I think, 2 decades. So this is the 21st year of my association with NHRD. I see passionate. One of the, I think at that point of time, we had only NIPM in place. NHRD was emerging. So we had all the passionate professionals joining together in a national HRD network. And that's how I got into this. And I used to do a couple of background assistance right from the day one. And that's how I became a part and parcel of the NHRD and family. And apart from that, was in terms of, since I always believe in connecting dots, I started influencing people to join NHRD. Right. So that's where I started getting more passionate about the activities, where in NHRD we had tremendous opportunities to learn. And even today we have the tremendous opportunity to learn, right? And I think I can see a sea change in terms of what we used to have and what is today. I think today we have the virtual learning almost every other day. At that point of time, we didn't have. The other opportunity is here, any professional getting into a national HRD network can have an easy access to the leadership team. Whereas if you don't, that was basically one of the attractions. I can say that's the carrot which was given to me, and that's how I got into that. And I think, yes, you all understand about the journey. I was into managing the Bangalore chapter twice, so for 4 years. So that was really fantastic and fun. And we just wanted to, just like how you manage the corporate or how you manage your office. So we thought, okay, fine, we should basically start managing in the same way. So one is in terms of understanding the people's requirement, providing them with the learning facility, and at the same time nurturing them. At the same time, you also have an opportunity to where you can basically nurture the young professionals, as well as you can interact with the seasoned professionals and learn from their thoughts, as well as in terms of, especially I was focused on in terms of students mobilization, and where I think we had a couple of B schools who partnered with us in the initial stages. Today, I think most of all the B schools are basically with the National HRD network. That's the third one. Fourth one is in terms of, we also came out with a couple of initiatives. So which we started partnering with the B schools and as well as with the corporates. They started to bridge that gap between the corporates. And the journey goes on in National HRD network. And especially if in case if someone is in Bangalore, I think they would basically know they can, and someone who has basically witnessed this for the last 10 years, I think they can basically resonate with what I'm saying.
What has been the main objective of NHRD Bangalore chapter? Point number one. Point number two, how has been the responses from the HR fraternity in Bangalore to the towards the NHRD initiatives?
See, I can't say what has been about the initiatives. The initiatives keep coming up. I think we are coming out with progressing initiatives or whatever that. So what basically one looks at joining the Bangalore chapter, or maybe in terms of the national chapter, whatever is there, is basically if they, as I said that initially, if they are passionate, such a human resource professionals, one. Second thing is if they have the passion for sharing their knowledge, because this is a platform where we share the knowledge, right? Be it in terms of your monthly meeting, workshops, or maybe in terms of the regional conferences or whatever is there. Third is in terms of a professional. For example, any HR professional will basically have an issue. So he would like to look out for a solution. So whom should I go for a solution? Obviously, I look out for a peer. So here you come across the peer group, one. So where you can basically address this particular challenge across people and you can network. So networking is one of the main reasons why people they basically join National HRD Network, right? And at the same time, you can basically interface with anyone. And now that I was basically involved in basically working on the social media. I started mobilizing people on the social media. Today, I basically have people across from the globe, all the HR professionals from the globe, especially on the Bangalore chapter group, which I manage. And at the same time, there is an official group which the team manages. And the official group basically has the details about what are the different challenges that you have.
Yeah.
I think the time limit is out. You want to extend it?
Just a minute. Yeah, there's no time limit. There's no time limit. Carry on. Go ahead.
Okay. So that was the thing. And apart from that is in terms of a professional will always look at in terms of engaging himself, or maybe they will also be interested in contributing their competencies, right? So in basically improving the fraternity. So that's what each and everyone basically looks into that. Second point is you are talking about how different is Bangalore chapter. So Bangalore chapter, obviously, yes, we started with a vibrancy. We have been scaling up the bar. Every year we keep doing it. There are a couple of flagship events which we do. And at the same time, there are a couple of events, the normal monthly meets, whatever we have that. So we always go ahead with how unique is. We have a unique discussion or a dialogue which keeps happening there. At the same time, we also had something like a cluster meetings. So where we started when we understood about the Bangalore traffic and people they couldn't basically come to the particular meet. So we wanted to we said that okay fine, let us go to their doorstep, right? So it might be in there each week we used to have it in different corners of Bangalore. So that's how it started. And unless people are very much interested, this keeps happening. If people stop attending the meet, then after that, once again, we'll roll back to the normal monthly meets, what we had. Then we had basically triads, which was known as training and development for professionals, which was started in way back in 2006, which later became Swayamvar. From Swayamvar, it became SIP Mela. And today, I think tomorrow, it might be recoined into something else. So we wanted to bridge the gap between the students and as well as the academicians. So that's where this particular activity started. Then after that, we also had a professional certifications for from industry stalwarts. So which was known as PHPD. So that was basically that is basically continuing even today. And today it is basically known as Gurukul. So in Gurukul, what happens is we team up with the B schools who basically want to train up their HR professionals, or maybe in terms of all the, MBA candidates, be it from different streams. So we basically help them out in terms of assisting them, understanding where exactly they come to. And we do have industry professionals from across the domain, be it in marketing, sales, HR, finance, who comes and basically gives them a basic in-depth view of how the organization, what is the expectation which the organization looks into that, and what exactly they are looking at from the student. As well as we also help them out in going ahead with the additional certification. Today, I think since we have this virtual training happening, I think people are saying that there are certifications happening on the labor code, there are certifications happening on the analytics per se, or there are certifications happening on the from the NLP front. So we just wanted to address each and every pocket so that people are facilitated, and tomorrow once they join in any organization or take up any opportunity, they should be well prepared in terms of the requirements which from the particular organization, be it if they are going to join Infosys or Wipro or Capgemini, or maybe in terms of any organizations. Let me not name them. Maybe I think IBM. So they should not face any challenge.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for spending your valuable time. On a final note, what would be your advice for an aspiring HR professionals?
For an aspiring HR professional, one is be passionate. So passionate, when I say passionate in the sense you love what you do. So don't go by what others do, right? You be original. So that's one thing. Second thing is don't go beyond money. So because over a period of time, maybe I think 20, 25 years or 30 years, you will basically earn what you are supposed to, but based on the experience. And you look out for an experiential learning when you basically join any profession for that matter, be it in HR, finance, or marketing, or whatever is there. But predominantly, when you say HR, I mean, I would look at someone coming as a people manager, because everyone is a leader. So whoever is going to join at the, initial stages, probably they are the leaders. But only thing is they should be in a position to manage effectively. So not go. Usually, what happens is in the initial stages, people will say that they'll go with the hearsay and say that okay, fine. Someone told me that okay, fine. This particular profession is challenging, or maybe it's some of the when you say you are supposed to deal with the legal subject, they'll say that okay, fine. The legal subject is very dry. So let us not do that. Let us basically create some sort of interest and passion among us, and so that we can take it up further. Not go beyond the compensation, I think, or maybe in terms of the brand. So everyone wants to say that okay, fine. Let me first think everyone comes out of the B school. They say that okay, fine, boss, I am from so and so B school. I carried such and certain brand. Let me basically get into a branded company. But I would say the other way around. So you have to basically have a experiential learning, join a startup, understand that, and if given an opportunity, join in a manufacturing organization. That's where you are going to understand the core of HR. And then if you are an individual contributor, obviously your experiential learning will be more, your interactions will be more. And if you are a team contributor at the same time, only thing is don't get yourself accustomed to the AI tools today what we have. So please understand how this particular activity is being worked out or calculated. Maybe when it comes to the computation, please understand the computation, understand the theory. So don't say that okay, fine. I'm very technology savvy, so let me basically click out of a button and then after that present it. More important is be it in any level, storytelling is something which is very much important. So whatever you understand, so go ahead and share your knowledge with people who can also learn and contribute. That's all I would like to tell the youngsters.
Thank you, Mr. Raghunandan. Thanks a lot for spending your valuable time, sharing your experiences and knowledge. It's A great
pleasure.
pleasure. It's a great pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, take care.
Thank you.